Hello everyone, this is tutorial 1 for Autodesk InfraWorks. I have InfraWorks 2020 loaded on my computer that I'm going to open here. This is the basic screen, which you're probably familiar with by now. The different projects that have been saved open as icons over here, and you can select from them which project you want to open. Tutorial and Charlotte, North Carolina is loaded by default by Autodesk. The tutorial folder here has a number of detailed tutorials by Autodesk to use the program. We are going to focus on the architectural aspects of your design. So our tutorials will focus on the elements that you generally use for your studio model or visualization. And many of the engineering things is not required. So we are going to simplify the tutorials to help with the architectural intent for this semester. I have created a campus map of the University of Cincinnati to show you the different user interface icons. So I'm going to go ahead, click on it to open it. It opens the model, and by default, you get a perspective view of the project. It may show up where at the zoom level that you left off, or it might show in the full view of the project when you open it. So let's look at this user interface over here. On the left, there are a number of icons that are used for designing elements in InfraWorks. On the right top corner, you have view icons for full screen and visibility settings. In the middle over here, these are proposals and the overall view settings. We'll go over these things one by one. And on the left top corner here, you have the name of the person who is working on the program right now, and the cloud applications to upload to BIM 360 or to share the views with your colleague at your work, and things like that. And so now let's look at these visualization icons first. By default, InfraWorks would load the conceptual view. Now, when I click on this, I have options of conceptual view, engineering view, and other settings. Let's look at the engineering view. The engineering view changes the appearance of your project by prioritizing roads instead of the aerial mapping. The purpose of InfraWorks is to design the infrastructure of the area of your project. It can be your project site. It can be the roadway design around the project site, mainly bridges, roads, site design, and things like that. That are shown in engineering view. So the aerial view is not a priority, so that dims out. It is not highlighted. So if I go back here and select the conceptual view, it will show you once again the overall mapped satellite image along with the buildings and roads, all of them prioritized together for the overall view. This is probably what you will use to show your clients what the project looks like. Now that we have looked at the view, let's look at navigation. The left mouse button, now I'm going to hold down the left mouse button. The left mouse button can be used to rotate the view. The right mouse button is used to pan. The scroll button is used to scroll in and scroll out. Now, I have an ergonomic mouse that has an additional button. So if you have a basic mouse, that is how the controls are. And you might want to check with your upgraded mouse if you have a different mouse, the way the controls are set up. Also, we are used to wireframe views in Rhino or Revit or 3ds Max. InfraWorks by default does not load that. That is under the settings in the conceptual view. So if you go back here, configure current view, and here you can adjust all other elements of your view. But I'm going to look at the wireframe over here. These are things that you can try out. So by default, brightness is 50. I can increase or decrease brightness. I can increase or decrease contrast. I'm going to leave it at 50 by default. And when I turn on wireframe, you can see this is the overall wireframe model of the project area that has been selected. So if you're interested in looking at wireframe, this is where you turn it on. You can play with some of the other features here to see what it does. Also, for example, I can turn off the sky. Let me zoom out. I can turn, by default, the sky is turned on. I can turn off the sky so that I can see only the model if that is your focus. So these features are in the additional view setting features under the view icon or button over here. Staying on the view, there is also other settings that is like layers to turn on and turn off layers, like in Rhino. I'm going to zoom in over here. So if I turn on this Model Explorer here, which is under Control Visibility, Display, and Selectability of Features, it gives you all of these basic layers that InfraWorks creates by default. So there are areas of interest which are easements, parcels, and right-of-ways, which you would see in the ArcGIS. For those who are familiar with ArcGIS, those are shown here. And there are, if I turn off buildings, for example, you can see that the buildings turn off here, and you see only the aerial. So these layer controls are over here, and surface controls are also over here. We will look at that in detail when you're doing your design, but here's where those features are. Also, full screen features are here, pretty straightforward. So that is the visualization menu. Now let's look at the design menu over here. There are 6 icons here that are the heart of InfraWorks modeling. Each one of these are categorized into main subject matters of this is the Build, Manage, and Analyze, which is a project management tool. This is the Design, Review, and Engineer Roads tool. So this is basically for roads. This is for structures such as bridges, sidewalks, medians, barriers, those kind. And this is for drainage, so stormwater management and those kind of things. So you have 4 main categories of infrastructure design built into these top 4 buttons of InfraWorks. And then you have, once you have finished your design, you may want to present your project to your client. So you can create a fly-through. So that is under the Create and Conduct infrastructure design presentation. So when you create a fly-through video, that is through here. And the settings and utilities are basically like the file export or file other functions in other programs, for example, Revit or AutoCAD or Rhino, where it gives you all the different options as to how you're going to handle the project through its settings. So it can be like file preferences or edit preferences in Illustrator. This is very similar to that. Now let's look at, so when you click it once, you get the menu. You click it again, the menu goes away. Pretty straightforward. Let's look at these one by one. Each one of these, clicking on each one of these functional buttons results in a flyout menu. For example, when I click on the build, it gives you additional functionalities for creating and managing your model, selecting model features, and so on and so forth. One of the common functions that you will see in all of these icons is this pencil button here. That is used in every one of these icons, mostly like an edit menu or an add features menu. So it is here in the build main menu. It is also here in the roadways menu. You can see it here. Similarly, there are also review and modify and the analyze model in each one of these flyout menus. So for each function of roadway design or managing your model or structural design or drainage design, you're going to have sub-functional categories of analyzing your model, designing the particular feature of your model, and reviewing and modifying the model that you have created. So manage, roadways, structures, drainage. These are the four main icons in your design. So if I click on the main function, you get additional options for each function, each main function to incorporate into your design. We will go over these features one by one as we look at your site, creating your site, creating the access, ingress, egress to your site, and the roads around your building, and so on and so forth. So this covers the basic user interface for InfraWorks 2020.